Good morning, welcome to Join the Dots. The last few days we've spent talking about the Japanese carry trade unwind, what it's likely to do, how it's, in my view, inevitable. It's inevitable, okay? So, but in a lot of people's view it won't be inevitable. They won't see it as I do. They haven't joined all the dots, they haven't spent as much time as I have looking at it. Just a fact. But what makes it easier for people to see a crisis is if it's closer to home. So let's go today through America and Europe and see what's happening there rather than a far-flung Japan and China. You know that China's collapsing, you know that Japan's got a carry trade issue that could unwind very, very rapidly and with massive effects. So let's talk about the US and Europe today. And let's talk about what the regulators are doing to cause chaos. It's almost like being in a hot air balloon above a crash scene. You can see the crash coming, you can see all the factors. You can see maybe a bend in the road and there's a huge accident just after the bend and there's cars coming at 70 miles an hour towards the bend and there's no way they can stop in time. That's where we are. We're in a moment where the crash is inevitable, but the people on the ground can't or won't see it. Won't is a shame. Can't, I understand. And that's why you have people who hopefully can join the dots so that you can see where the crash is coming and why you need to avoid it. People who won't see are just people who won't see. It's the same in every situation. They won't see anything because their belief system is so strong in one direction, it cannot accept any other reality. And those people generally end up in the crash. So what I see is desperation by the authorities now. I see desperation. They know, instinctively they know, with the employment crisis, with wages falling, with food inflation up at 15%, they know they've got a crisis coming. So what are they doing to try and defer, in their eyes prevent, but in my eyes it's simply a deferral. What are they doing to try and defer that crisis or the effects of that crisis? Europe, and there's an article came out this week and it says the villains of the 2008 crisis come to life in Europe. And yeah, they do. They're doing the same thing. They're going through, they're accepting securitisation. After 2008-9, Europe absolutely condemns securitisation as an evil thing. Now they're accepting it. Why? Because they're desperate. Desperation. Desperation in Europe. They're allowing securitisation. They're allowing the big banks to start parking little bits of rubbish into something that they then rate as AAA and say, well, that's wonderful. No, it's just lots of rubbish together. And lots of rubbish together equals rubbish. And then we're seeing the US, the Fed. The Fed voted 5-2 in June to reduce the capital buffers. The actual technical description was to remove the supplementary leverage ratio. And when was that supplementary leverage ratio brought in? Just after 2009. So they knew what caused 2009. So they put in some rules to stop it happening again. And they voted 5-2 in June to remove the supplementary leverage ratio from the largest banks. Two words. Can you think of them? Can you think what I'm going to say? Corporate fascism. The banks have lobbied and lobbied and lobbied and finally persuaded 5-2 the Federal Reserve to remove the supplementary leverage ratio. You can't make it up. You don't have to. It's just happening. So there's Europe and there's the US. Now, after that, of course, the Fed needs to cover its bum, doesn't it? It needs to say, well, we didn't really say that. Well, you did. You voted 5-2. But Michael Barr, on July the 16th, 25, from the Federal Reserve, came out with a big speech and a big link. And I'll try and find it, if I can, because it's quite interesting what he says, or the headline. Let's have a look. Let's see if we can find... Oh, speech by Governor Barr on financial regulation. Yes. And he says how important it is to have financial regulation. And yet his board have voted 5-2 the month before to remove the supplementary leverage ratio enacted post 2009 to prevent it happening again. You can't make it up. You don't have to. It's just happening. It's just happening in real time. You don't have to make it up. Why are they doing this? Well, one more thing, one more piece actually. 29th of July, CNBC. Investors are using margin debt at the pace of previous market bubbles. Join the dots. I welcome you to join the dots. And I welcome you to join the dots. So you have Europe, you have US, and now you have investors all over the world investing with margin debt. They're taking debt to buy stocks. Why is the market at 6.4, whatever it is on the S&P? Why? Because people are borrowing. I will tell you that without a shadow of doubt in my mind, the clever people are now selling. The clever people are set. Warren Buffett's been selling all year. He can't sell in one day. He's just got too much. So he's been selling all year. The clever people will now be selling to the punters who come in on margin debt. That's how you have a crash. Because the solidity of the market is removed. You have no restrictions or less restrictions. You have banks able to lend more. You have people borrowing more to buy more stocks. Can you see the crash? It's just round the bend. There's a pile up here and there's traffic coming now at 70 miles an hour going up to 90 miles an hour just before the bend. And they're being invited to go at 90 miles an hour by the regulator. It's bizarre. It happens every time. It's bizarre. And all you have to do is avoid it. Just step aside and let the crash happen. Pick up the pieces. Sounds horrible, just the way life is in a market. You wait until it crashes, you pick up the pieces. You do not chase. You do not join that mad dash, that unregulated, that leveraged madness, that securitisation stupidity. You do not join it. You avoid it. And why are we seeing all this? Well, we're seeing all this because, of course, the economies are weakening, aren't they? We're seeing it everywhere. House prices falling, more inventory on the market, less buyers looking, less searches. Every leading indicator, not news. News is it's happened. Leading indicators are it will happen. So make a rational decision based on the leading indicators. Housing prices are falling across the US and the UK and Australia and Canada and New Zealand and will be soon in Europe. Why? Because of jobs. If you don't have jobs or you fear that you might lose your job, you don't go and buy a new house. It's ever so simple. Joining those dots should be child's play. So I'm going to send you a link. I'm going to send you a few links. I'll send you a link about the European re-securitisation. Just absolute madness, but they're desperate. Look at what's happened to Europe. Look at it. Join the dots. Join the tariff dots on Europe. They're going to have to pay 15% tariffs. Okay? The US consumer's not going to pay that 15%. So the exporter has to suck it up. Okay? And that's what's happening in China, because all those exports coming out of China now, it's all being sucked up. The US consumer's not paying any more, is he? The CPI is at 2.9. He's not paying any more. So who's paying it? The distributor, the importer, the exporter. Between the three of them and the retailer. Between the four parties are sucking up those tariffs. So yes, the US government is getting some money. But it's coming at the expense of all these companies in the supply chain who then are going to earn a lot less profits. And what do profits make? Prices. And what happens when profits fall? Prices fall. So you can expect stock markets to fall. But what you've got at the moment is this mad suicidal, I don't know what to call it. It's a race to a crash. And people are borrowing on margin to do it. So anyway, employment, wages, housing. Those are the three elements that make an economy stable to grow. When they're missing, it fails. And when it fails, the regulators get desperate. And what are we seeing if you join the dots? We're seeing the regulators getting desperate. Europe's allowing securitisation. The capital buffers are being weakened on the larger banks in the States. People are buying on margin to buy loans. It's a disaster. It's a disaster just waiting. Now, the other day, and this is separate now, I want to take you back to that link I gave you. And it was a brilliant press link, and I hope you watched it. If you didn't, well, that's your loss, I'm afraid. Where it exposed how the press continued the official narrative on COVID deaths, and it was 3.4%. They said 3.4, 3.4, 3.4, 3.4. Trump said less than 1, and it ended up at 0.2. Now, we have the same thing coming out now because we've got 4 years of data, 5 years of data on the vaccine effectiveness. So what were we told? 14 million lives are saved, 14 million lives are saved, 14 million lives are saved. It's now been whittled down to 2.5. 2.5 million lives have actually, or in the latest data, been seen to have been saved. 2.5 million. Think of what happened in that crisis. You don't get the truth in the news. This is why sites like this, and not just mine, there are very many out there, you should be visiting them. You should be joining the dots yourself, but also listening to people who try and join the dots for you. Because there are so many dots out there that you don't see. And therefore your picture is it's missing so many key ingredients. Okay? So employment, wages, housing, regulators weakening all their rules because they have to, people borrowing on margin, we're just about to crash. Thank you very much.